hats are made one way, by hand, and they have to be shaped. And it doesn't matter what the shape is, what the decade is, what the fashion is, what the style is, they have still got to be shaped and then trimmed and sewn by hand. It's the same process. First job is the cutting room. My cutter years ago, when we used to do pretty much a lot of trade work, he was used to cutting layers of material this deep, so that in one cut of the blade, he could actually cut maybe 120 hats in one go. Now, this is one hat for one person, so it's scissors, by hand. Materials could come from China, they could be coming from India, silk, flowers coming in from Germany, cinema that's hand woven coming in from the Philippines, straw from China, or it could be from Italy, Ecuadorian Panama, all over the world, just for this one hat. And that can take a few phone calls. Because it's natural. You go to a shade card, and I've done this, I've made this mistake. You'll pick out a shade off the shade card that really matches, and that's exactly what they want, but they never come in the same colour, because every roll is a different shade, etc., because it's natural. So the only real way of doing it is to pick the material you're going to use when they're here and get them to approve it. This one for this customer is a single colour. What we've done in the past is we blend, because we do this in at least three layers, we can blend the layers in different colours. So it takes on a different tone. So if this person wanted slightly more turquoise in it, but it was a greeny shade, we'd then get another sort of shade, a darker shade in, throw that in the middle, and that would just bring out the colour. But we're never too precious. As long as it tones, I'm never too precious about a match, because I think they're boring.
Yeah.
We're ditching this piece because it's hand woven and there's a flaw there. Now that could well show up in the hat. Now that's taken, that little section there has probably taken about 2 hours to hand weave, but it's no good us making a hat out of a piece of material that's crap, because it won't be satisfactory, so might as well just ditch it now, rather than waste our valuable labour time. Kill it. So we'll cut the material out to the various different sizes and shapes and lengths that we're going to need. None of us by now have yet seen this hat. No sketches are done, it's still all up here, but we all know what we're expecting and what we're going to need. And hopefully most of the material we're used to using, we know it. We do get materials coming in from customers that they want us to put into their hat that have never been used in hats before, should never be used in hats, or we just don't know them and we don't know how they're going to react. There's not many firms, again like us, where, say, the management are so on hands with the staff. I mean, nowadays, I can't imagine it wouldn't be any other way, but years ago, you'd have a large firm, which is a bent bit, that one. Yeah, you'd have a large firm where they would send in crap, and I'd phone up because I'd see it straight away, and they'd say, well, you're the first person to complain. You're the only one to complain. I said, well, maybe I'm the only one who's actually discovered it. And there's one feather firm, very, very established old feather firm, and I phoned him up and said, these are navy. No, they're black. I said, look, mate, I know you're older and wiser than me, but this is fucking navy. End of. Oh, no, it's black.
I tell you.
So we'll cut it and then we'll block it. It's a real temperature gauge with this, so before we block that, we'll do what Barry's doing now, we'll spray it down to get the block to the right temperature. Natural fibre, when it's hydrated and then it's dehydrated, it's dried out, it will take a shape, it will become stiff, and then with the extra little concoctions we'll throw in, like PVA or varnishes or shellacs or whatever, the material will go stiff, and it's very similar, if you like, to the difference between trying to iron a nylon shirt and a linen shirt. A linen shirt is nice and smooth. And a nylon shirt is always going to be a bit of a rag. We can pull the material over the block, which sometimes is wood, but we use mainly aluminium because the aluminium is already hot. We used to block the crown all the way down its full depth. To pull the material right down to the bottom and trying to get it pleat free means that you're putting a lot of stress on the top of the crown here, i.e. you're pulling the material really quite hard, which can in turn either rip the material or it will stress the buckram that's in the middle. And if the buckram is woven differently to the way the silk's woven. So the silk might be smooth and might work, but the buckram itself will then start to contract because we've pulled it like hell, and then it will shrink back. And if it shrinks back, then you'll get all bumps. It'll go out of shape. So we then have to reset it, and it's a pain. This way, by putting less stress on all the various different layers of material, it's more likely to just work. And now that we're doing so many single hats, where the material is quite priceless, because if we get it wrong, if we make a mistake, if we bugger it up, we can't get that material again. So we really don't want to cock this up. And this is the safest way of not cocking it up. It also means that we have to handle it less. The more handling, the more chance you're either going to wreck it or stain it if it's like really pale colours. Whereas with the silk, we actually want to dehydrate it quite a lot. The Panama, because it's already got, if you like, nature's moisture within the fibre, it's grass, to keep it being flexible and supple, we don't want it too dry. If we bake it too hard, it then becomes too brittle and you could put your fingernail through the straw. People think that a Panama is a hat that you can roll up. That is a myth. The quality of the grass that creates a folding Panama is so fine and it's woven so tightly, it's like linen. It's just the fact it's made out of grass rather than cotton. The time it takes to select the grass and then hand weave in such a dense weaving pattern, it can take 3 months. The raw material that we would use then to make the hat cost us about 500 quid. So, boys and girls, when you see advertised a folding Panama for 25 quid, it ain't. You can fold it, but it won't necessarily spring back like rubber back to the shape, which is what most people say. They say, oh, I've got a folder. So is it still in its perfect shape? Oh, no. No, I've rolled it up once and it looks rather strange. Once we've blocked it, we then take it upstairs into the machine room, where they'll cut the brim, if it's a brim, to the right shape. And then they'll put a supporting wire around the edge. This means that instead of the brim just being a layer of material that could then just do what it wants and be floppy, this wire will keep it stiff. Then they'll bind it on the edge to hide the wire, either in material or in a grog ground that we use. It's a ribbon. The speed of light, she folded it in half, stitched it tight against the brim so that both sides are absolutely the same each side. That's class. So what Pat's going to do now is she's going to machine this strip, which has been cut to a shape to mimic the undulations of the form of the crown. She's going to machine that onto the side, onto the crown, and that way you'll get the side of the crown. And the real trick, and which is why we get a lot of customers come to us, because either their heads are quite small compared to the sort of stuff they can buy in the high street, or plain large. And it's often as not, it's the large head sizes where ladies have got bigger than normal head sizes. The bone structure's different, their occiput's fuller at the back, or they've got a wider brow. And they're finding that hats on sale are 4, 5, 6 centimetres too small. And this is the real trick, getting that to fit over the top. Experience has told Pat how big she wants it in the first place, and it's a standard head size. If it was small, Pat would have pulled it in more. If it was big, she would have pushed it out. But she wouldn't use the tape measure. hat will have a head ribbon inside. Otherwise, it would look not good. And then also it just makes, because the material on the inside can be rough, it makes it more comfortable. And it's the head ribbon, the final sort of head ribbon, that will govern the size, and that bit she will measure. So this one's going to be 57.5 centimetres, yeah? And she'll just put it in. Now, if anybody has ever tried to just put a length of ribbon and sew it into a circle, most people will discover they've either got too much at the end or not enough. The correct head size is put in, and I always recommend that we put a slightly bigger head size in than the customer's size, because we can cushion it. Because when you have a hat that's really just right, depending on the environment, they might take it off, and depending on their hairstyle and their skin, when they take it off, they might get the red mark. So it's better that the hat is just snugly, sort of snugs down with a bit of cushioning that we'll put in. So I'll just check to see if it's the right head. Perfect. And then it comes over to be finished, to be trimmed. Babe, if you could put a hand and glove drape, and that's the thing that people associate hat making, it's the decoration. That's a spare fabric, that label can now come off. All right,
Okay.
Standard. No lining because she's got to trim it afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
All right, tar. Of course, one of the idiosyncrasies of something being made totally by hand, using raw materials that are very, very natural. Say, like, for example, feathers. When God created chickens or cockerels or peacocks, he didn't make all their feathers the same length. And so you'll find that some feathers are a different shape or a different length, but that is a natural product. The silkworms that spew out this silk that's then woven is not always going to be identical. This is not woven nylon. And when we come to then make the hat, because most of our materials, if not all of our materials, are made either very artisanally or made by hand, each one's going to be slightly different because they're cousins, not twins. All ready to go?
Just a second.
All right.
Okay. So it's covered up there. There you go.
So very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Linda, my trimmer, becomes my fingers. So, thank you. I can stand back and have an overview as she's sewing, and I can then ask her to reposition. It's quicker this way, and it's because it's objective. If I was doing it myself all the time, you would be fussy, but you'd be very frustrated too quickly. Whereas if somebody else is doing it and you can direct them and you're working as a team on it, A, I can see at a distance whether it's working or not, and B, if I don't think it is working, I can at least ask her to take it apart and walk away and make a cup of tea for us all. That's it, just whack them in.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right. Could you pretty up, I think, as I say, keep that stalk in.
Do you want to keep that stalk?
I think I will, because it sort of just adds the sort of balance
Yeah.
to that. It gives it a
And
reason.
just coming down to the brim.
Either cut it at that rough end or try and twizzle it, but I think I'll just lose it where the pin goes. We will not use a ruler and a measurement. We'll use our eye. Half front veil to nose, to make sure that the balance to the face, to the height, to the angle, to the line, has it got the line? Does it work? And then we'll sew that together. It might just give it a bit of foundation at the back.
Yeah, you'll need something
Yeah.
to...
If my trimmers haven't got the sample in front of them, in other words, as usual, it's a special commission, I'll try and get these hats done within about a week, week and a half, while the customer is still fresh here. Because you can write notes down, but because the thing has never been created and you're using trimmings that you didn't have when the customer was there, when you actually put it together, because you can remember the customer's personality and how they were, what sort of message they wanted to get across. When you're finally putting it all together, you're thinking, this is either too much or not enough. We'll use glue. Glue has been used in millinery for centuries, and we'll use it where it's going to benefit the hat. It's very difficult to sew feathers that are as narrow as your cotton, you can't sew them. You've got to glue them. You can't get a needle through them. And once I'm happy, then I'll phone the client up and they'll come along and try it on. I'll get them to stand in front of the mirror and try and get them into the mindset of where they're going to be, chill them down, because again, it's unlikely they've worn that many hats. Their expectation, they really don't have one. So they're still going to be nervous, and I don't want them to be nervous. I want them to be calm, and I just want them to imagine themselves that morning putting the hat on. So eyes shut, ready, hat on, open eyes, and then I'll watch their reaction. Because I don't want them to feel embarrassed if they don't like it. Because, oh, it's lovely. And actually, they don't like it. And if they don't like it, we're back to square one. They're not going to wear it, or they're going to feel self-conscious on the day. So I'll watch their face. And, yeah, and you'll know. And 99 times out of 100, they just glow. And that is statement. Best compliment was one lady. She wanted something dainty, but she was a tall woman. So we gave it all the theatre, but we just translated her. Anyway, when she put it on, she opened her eyes and she said, "Oh my God, this is me." Job done.